Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mah Hatut, and I am honored to be your MC this evening. I would like to welcome you to the 13th Annual Convention of the Muslim Public Affairs Council. This year is even more special because MPAC is celebrating its 25th anniversary. 25 years of service, 25 years on the road less traveled. And of course, it is with the guidance of Allah and your support that every single person at MPAC is motivated on a daily basis and working to ensure that the Muslim American community becomes an integral part of American pluralism. We have an exciting evening planned for you, and we are so happy you're here to celebrate with us. We will start tonight with a recitation from the Quran to be read by Asim Biuksoy, Director of the Religious Affairs at the Islamic Center of Southern California. He will be reciting verse 177 from Surah Al-Baqarah.
Assalamu alaikum. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ليس البر أن تولوا وجوهكم قبل المشرق والمغرب ولكن البر من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر والملائكة والكتاب والنبيين وآتى المال على حبه ذوي القربى واليتامى والمساكين وابن السبيل والسائلين وفي الرقاب وأقام الصلاة وآتى الزكاة والموفون بعهدهم إذا عاهدوا والصابرين في البأساء والضراء وحين البأس أولئك الذين صدقوا وأولئك هم المتقون. صدق الله العظيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. True piety does not consist in turning your faces towards the east or the west, but truly pious is he who believes in God and the last day and the angels and the revelation and the prophets, and spends his substance, however much he himself may cherish it, upon the near of kin and the orphans and the needy and the wayfarer and the beggars, and for the freeing of human beings from bondage, and is constant in prayer and renders the purifying dews. And truly pious are they who keep their promises whenever they promise, and are patient in misfortune and hardship and in time of peril. It is they that have proved themselves true, and it is they who are conscious of God. Sadaqallah al-Azim. And now I would like to welcome the chair of MPAC's board, Dr. Nayir Ali, to begin our banquet with a few words and to present the Community Leadership Award.
Assalamu alaikum. I'd like to welcome all of you to our annual convention, and this is a very special convention, as you're all aware. It is also the 25th anniversary of this organization that was founded by Dr. Mah Hatut, and his work goes on, and we are here to celebrate what we have accomplished and what we will continue to accomplish in the years to come. MPAC's Community Leadership Award honors individuals and institutions whose relentless work has contributed to the empowerment of the American Muslim community and our society at large. It is this tireless work of these individuals and institutions that partner with MPAC on a daily basis that allows us to amplify and strengthen our message. This year's Community Leadership Award will be given to Judge Halim Dhanidina. Judge Dhanidina is the first American Muslim to be appointed to the Superior Court in the state of California by Governor Jerry Brown. Halim Dhanidina has served as a Deputy District Attorney in the Los Angeles County's District Attorney's Office since 1998. He earned a JD degree from the University of California, Los Angeles, and a Bachelor of Arts degree from Pomona College. For the past 3 years, MPAC has advocated for the appointment of Mr. Dhanidina as a Superior Court judge for the state of California. This spring, Salim received a phone call that changed his life. Governor Jerry Brown's office called to notify him he had been named a judge to California's Superior Court. With his success, Halim Dhanidina shows we all have a place in civic life. MPAC advocated for Judge Dhanidina due to his outstanding record in California. Since 1998, he has completed high-level prosecutions of gang units and has served as a Deputy District Attorney in the Los Angeles County District Office. Overall, Judge Dhanidina has prosecuted more than 24 murder cases, including 6 capital cases, when he served as a prosecutor. Judge Dhanidina, please come out and I will present the award. On behalf of MPAC, I am honored to present you this award.
Thank you so much for those kind words. And let me also welcome all of you convention goers here to Long Beach, California, which is where I sit, just a few blocks away in the Long Beach courthouse. I hope you're enjoying your stay so far. I'm going to keep my remarks brief, as I've been instructed. I give orders, but I follow orders as well. You know, when I was first notified that I had been appointed to be a judge of the Superior Court, I was overwhelmed by the outpouring of support that came not only from my family and people who knew me well, but from the community in general, really all over the country and from many other countries as well. You know, unfortunately, within just a couple of days, I also noticed that there was an outpouring of negative sentiment that was being reflected mostly on the internet, but also in threatening hate mail letters to the governor's office over appointing a Muslim to be a judge in California. And I think many of you would understand where this comes from. There's still a large amount of distrust among some segments, willfully ignorant segments, I think, of society that think that Muslims have no role to play in the justice system or in our civic institutions, I still get asked, quite often actually, from people who are often well-meaning, is there anything about your Islamic heritage that you think is inconsistent or makes it hard for you to be a judge in America, in following and enforcing American laws? And of course, many of us in this room know that question is silly. You know, we look at our own heritage and we look at our own upbringing and our own philosophy, and we don't have to look far for the answer. You know, it was the poet Khalil Gibran who said, "Safeguarding the rights of others is the most noble and beautiful end of a human being." And I've always taken that to heart, both in my daily life and also as a judge. You know, I feel like I look around this room, and if you look around and you see each other, you will see that our community is such a success story. You know, our people permeate all aspects of society and business and the professions. You know, our children fill the finest universities in this country, and we have a lot to be proud of. Unfortunately, I think we're still finding our way, in many ways coming of age, in getting engaged in public life. Some of that is the fault, I think, of outsiders, if you want to call them that, who make it difficult sometimes for people, Muslim people, to participate. Some of that is self-imposed, and I think that is what MPAC is doing such a great job to defeat. You know, my daughter, she's 6 years old, and she plays on our local softball team where we live in Irvine. I'm one of the assistant coaches. I'm very proud of that role. And she, at one of our practices, was helping out a friend of hers who was really struggling to hit the ball. And she just, whatever she tried, she couldn't hit it. And my daughter came up to her, and she said, "You know what? I'm going to tell you what my grandparents told me. Before the pitch comes, just think in your mind, Bismillah, and swing." It's really just that simple. Now her parents, this girl's parents, had a good sense of humor about that. She's not Muslim, and talked to me about that later. And what was so heartening about that story is that my daughter, at the age of 6, still hasn't learned to be fearful of who she is, the way that I think many of us who grew up at a different time in this country have learned. Now, some of that has to do with where we live. And the area in Irvine where we are is quite diverse and very welcoming. Just this past fall, we had an email sent around by our local public school principal indicating that back to school night had to be rescheduled because it conflicted with Eid festivities. I mean, who would have thought, right, that would happen? But I almost feel like that is where our community is going. With that attitude, that fearlessness, that pride in our identity and who we are, that will allow us to now take that next step and be involved publicly and be fully involved in the machinations of our government and our democracy, so we don't have to hide in the shadows and be ashamed really of who we are, that this is a strength and not a liability. I'm going to steal one last quote here. It's one of the tricks that I learned from being a trial attorney, that when you're saying something, try to take a quote from somebody who's more well-known, more influential, and smarter than you are. So I'm going to take from Khalil Gibran again, who said, "A little knowledge that acts is worth infinitely more than much knowledge that is idle." That's what MPAC is doing. So thank you, MPAC, for this award, but more importantly than that, thank you for helping this community take its knowledge and turn it into action. Thanks again.
Before we break for dinner, we want to take a moment to thank all of our donors who have supported us throughout the years. Every dollar contributes to our ability to represent your voices and our common interests. Without your generous support, we would not be able to do the work we do today. So please hold your applause until the very end so they all get their due recognition. Our senior donors, the Janina family, the Ansari family, the Ali families, Amina Adaya and family, the Diab family, the Hamdani family, the Hamawi family, the Bukai family, the Hamdan family, the Al-Marayati family, the Yunus families. Our convention sponsors, gold, Drs. Khalid and Parveen Ahmed, the Bukai family. Silver, Iman Foundation, Islamic Center of Southern California. The Uthman families, Dr. Arif and Sadia Rizvi. Bronze, Amana Mutual Funds, Firdos and Ramzi Hakim, Islamic Relief USA, Dr. Hamid Khan, Dr. Iftikhar and Zubaydah Khan, Dr. Naguib and Anjum Khan, MPAC Western New York, New Horizon Irvine, New Horizon West Los Angeles, Dr. Mansour and Fiza Shah. And we would also like to acknowledge all of our donors listed in your program book. Enjoy your dinner, and just to remind you, dinner tonight is prepared under strict Islamic guidelines. Bon appetit. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to resume our program. We hope you've enjoyed your dinner, and it's going to get very exciting from here. But before we do that, we just want to make sure that we acknowledge a few of our valuable partners who are here with us in the audience today. Former Councilwoman Jan Perry, Mayor of the City of Bell, Ali Saleh, Assemblywoman Cristina Garcia, Executive Producer of NBC Nightly News with Brian Williams, Mike Mosher, the Consul General of Pakistan, Tasawwur Khan, and the Consul General of Iraq, Ahmad Jawed. All right, and now I would like to introduce to you the phenomenal high-energy trio of young Muslim American brothers with astonishing moves and incredible vocal talent. They won the hearts and minds of America with their electric performances on the hit TV show X Factor. Please help me welcome to the stage, Annu.
Into the streets, we're coming now. We never sleep, never get tired. Through urban fields and suburban life. Turn up the love now, we'll never back down. Shoot down the skyline, watch it on prime time. Turn up the love now, listen up now. Turn up the love. Who's gonna save the world tonight? Who's gonna bring me back to life? We're gonna make it you and I. We're gonna save the world tonight. 1, 2, 3, hit! Turn up the love now, we'll never back down. Shoot down the skyline, watch it on prime time. Turn up the love now, listen up now. Turn up the love. Who's gonna save the world tonight? Who's gonna bring me back to life? We're gonna make it you and I. We're gonna save the world tonight. Thank you. See you later.
Thank you, Annu. That was an awesome performance. And just a spoiler alert, in case you enjoyed that, there will be more of that to come later. But first, it's definitely a great thing when important people acknowledge what you're doing. And so today, we have a very special message from a very special person. And to tell you all about it is Director of MPAC's Washington, D.C. office, Haris Tareen.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. After that performance, I don't think anything I tell you or read to you will make much of a difference. But we did ask President Obama to send us a message on the 25th anniversary of our institution. And as many of you have it on your table, the White House and the President responded with this message. And I will read the message to you. December 13th, 2013. I send greetings to all those attending the Muslim Public Affairs Council's 13th Annual Convention, and I am pleased to join in celebrating MPAC's 25th year anniversary. Throughout our history, Muslim Americans have contributed to the character of our country, and their good works have helped build our nation. Today, Muslim Americans continue to move us forward, helping shape the way we think and the way we work. For 25 years, MPAC has offered an important voice for the Muslim American community and sought to advance the values at the heart of our pluralistic society. By empowering the next generation of Muslim American leaders, organizations like yours inspire young people of all backgrounds to engage in the debates of our time. And they remind us that our nation is stronger when we harness the talents of all Americans, no matter where we come from, what we look like, or how we pray. Congratulations on the special anniversary as you celebrate 25 years of service. I wish you all the best for a rewarding, productive convention. Barack Obama. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Haris. And now please help me welcome the man who works tirelessly every day to make sure the voices of American Muslims are heard. I am proud to call him a personal friend and someone whose perseverance and patience I admire so much. The President of MPAC, Mr. Salam Al-Marayati.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. You know, a lot of people ask me, how did you get into this business? Well, started actually when I graduated from high school. And I sat down with my dad, who's here with us tonight. I know, I hear him. And he says, you know, when you choose your major for college, this is when I graduated from high school, I want you to choose the major that you like the most, because then you'll be the best at it. I said, okay, good. Then the next night he sat me down again. He goes, okay, what have you decided? Are you going to be a doctor or an engineer? Well, I picked the road less traveled for many of us. And I decided to work first with the Islamic Center of Southern California in the Public Relations Department, and then that became the Muslim Public Affairs Council. And learning under Dr. Mah Hatut and Dr. Hassan Hathout and Dr. Fethi Osman, we, I think, made all the difference for American Muslims. We started with a budget of 30,000, and now our budget for this organization is over 1.5 million. I'm glad you're clapping because you'll have to pay for that. We had a staff of 1, and now we have a staff of 13, including a vibrant office in Washington, D.C., and the headquarters in Los Angeles, and our Western New York chapter also. Ibu Patel, who is known for his interfaith work and is someone who is highly published as well. He said, you know, 20 years ago, you guys were the only one talking about the American Muslim identity and integration and engagement. Now, every Muslim organization has adopted your talking points. I think that's another sign of success. Our mantra is to engage, empower, and enlighten. Engage means that we develop the common ground with anyone. Even if we only agree with 5% on the issues, that is worth engaging with anyone and everyone. And to empower by framing our issues not just as interests for Muslims, but interests for America. And to enlighten in reforming ourselves, because God says in the Quran, He will never change a people until they change what is in themselves, and to base our public policy work on Islamic values. Now, I can continue talking about MPAC's accomplishments and its great work. I think all of you are here because of the contributions of the Muslim Public Affairs Council for the last 25 years. But we would rather tell you the story through a video about the Muslim Public Affairs Council. So with that, please start the video.
Hey, I'm Kamal, and I'm an actor. Well, let me back up. I'm a professional actor, but that's not what I'm doing, sitting here talking to you. Today, I'm just Kamal, a father of 2 wonderful children, an American, a cheesehead, go Packers, and I'm a Muslim. Now, I know in today's cultural climate, none of those things are mutually exclusive and not a big deal, but it wasn't always the case. It took a long time to string that whole sentence together and say that with pride. Why, you ask? Well, at the risk of dating myself, back in my day, Americans really didn't think of Muslims. Not because we weren't there, but because we really weren't in the public eye. And some of us, a lot of us, really didn't mind that. Well, that had to change. In 1988, a small group of visionaries saw a need to change the status quo. Dr. Mah Hatut and Salam Amriati, along with like-minded individuals, knew that something else had to be created. An organization that spoke to the changing priorities of our community and of our country. The Muslim Public Affairs Council was born in all of its fashion-forward splendor.
The idea of MPAC did not start from a vacuum. It was part of the diligent work for the future of Islam in America, which aims at having Islam and the Muslims as an active part of the American pluralism in the future that can affect the decision and can guide the society.
Lincoln is credited with arguably the most important cultural transformation in American history. But that transformation started with the defining relationship with Frederick Douglass, who articulated the political, social, and moral imperative that emancipation would bring. This partnership changed the course of our nation's history because 2 men had the courage to exchange ideas. Granted, those are massive shoes to fill, but working with the principles of our faith and the best examples of our nation's leaders, MPAC set out to redefine what it meant to be a Muslim in America. To, for the lack of a better phrase, come out of the closet, to embrace our neighbors, our communities, our local, state, and national governments. But let's keep it real. Some are critical of MPAC for forging these partnerships. From within the community, words like sellout come to mind. And those that are bent on seeing American Muslims marginalized were always labeled as others or infiltrators. But the fact of the matter is, since its inception, MPAC has, is, and always will be values-driven. They see as by making the American Muslim community part of the civic and political fabric of America, not only a patriotic act, but a prophetic one as well.
If I was going to try to capture all of the profound impact that MPAC has had, it would have to be hope. MPAC is an organization that gets up every day. Its members, its staff, its board gets up every day believing that if we put our time, energy, and effort into improving understanding, that understanding will prevail.
The Suspicious Activity Reporting Initiative was started here in Los Angeles, and it was actually an initiative that became a national program. It was sought with suspicion, especially from the Muslim communities. We really learned the true value of MPAC in that they had something to say, to the point where we gave them the material when we said, criticize it, critique it, give us your recommendations. And we adopted probably 90% of those recommendations, which made the program stronger. Even when we disagree on certain issues, we're not disagreeable. There is no conflict between being a faithful Muslim and a loyal American. And I think that's one of the things that this partnership has shown.
So I was in Detroit when the bombing happened. The first person I called was Hoda of MPAC, and immediately he assembled a team of media advisors for me, political advisors, people who would prep me for interviews, and really just behind the scenes were with me the whole way. It was through MPAC that I was able to make connections with press people, the op-ed piece that was published in the New York Times, the help that I was afforded by MPAC, really, I could never put a price on it.
Our country has a lot to learn. Our policymakers have a lot to learn about this community, about the religion. And the reason I say that is because if MPAC existed in 1939, 40, 41, 42, Japanese Americans would never have been sent to camp.
In a historic development, President Barack Obama met with the director of MPAC's Washington, D.C. office to recognize the work MPAC has done to make America a more perfect union and developing young leaders. MPAC has since met multiple times with the president and his senior advisors on various policy issues. Just a few years ago, this would not have been possible.
Yeah, growing up in Los Angeles in the 80s with a name like Kamal wasn't easy. I mean, I heard it all. Camel, camel jockey, commode, caramel-colored popcorn. Now, I know kids can be mean, but a huge part of that ignorance stems from the fact that most people didn't see any meaningful representations of Muslims on TV or at the movies. Now, I can go on and on about that.
Have you seen Brett Hopper, your tenant from downstairs?
Yes, absolutely. No.
Have you seen him or not, sir?
He was here, but now he's not. There is leak.
Where's Hopper?
But I digress. I know there's still a long road ahead and a lot of ignorance still exists, but the truth is there are a lot of news and media producers out there who want to do more. They want to understand me, my kids, my community better. MPAC knew this years ago and actually made a difference.
In honor of your effort to portray a positive image of Islam, the Muslim Public Affairs Council presents the Entertainment Media Award to Spike Lee for the making of Malcolm X. Thank you very much.
My gratitude to you tonight for this award and for honoring me in this way, it will have to come in the form of action. It will have to come through my continued work and covering the issues that need to be covered.
When I was in the fourth season of 24, we had a story about a Muslim American family who were perpetrating a terror plot. And MPAC contacted us really just to have a sit-down, a conversation about the potential incendiary aspect. And there was concern over the way even the show was being marketed, where on the billboard there was a family that said they could be next door. The encounter was very, very honest. It was very blunt. It was fair-minded. And I think it really did have an impact on how we continued to tell that story, particularly in the wake of 9/11. So MPAC has been a tremendous resource in terms of getting it right.
First straight, please. You know, even today, I worry about the kind of world my kids will inherit. Every parent does. It can be frightening, especially when you consider how fast and at times reckless this world is moving. Oh, can you turn left here, please? Thanks. The difference between our kids and us is they'll be equipped to not only be a part of, but lead on every level of society. Equipped with something that we take for granted, pride in American Muslim identity. Those seeds are being planted today.
I applied for MPAC in general after the Boston Marathon bombings, and I just remember thinking, I need to get out there. I want to be in the public policy spectrum and just influence change.
The value that MPAC adds is that it creates a platform for discussion on these very issues that do define the Muslim American experience. And I think these summits do showcase the power of youth to not only envision how they can play a role in their future, but actually being part of the change now.
It gave so many people an opportunity to interact with policy and government officials in a way that most people never get a chance to do. We eventually wrote this Declaration of Civic Responsibilities for Muslim American Youth. The next day, we read it at the White House, and it was really a phenomenal experience. And one of the staffers at the National Security Council was so impressed that he took a copy to give to the president.
This is history in the making. When I look back, inshallah, and like my kids are able to live in a country where Muslims don't have to face Islamophobia, I know myself and my colleagues contributed to that.
It is incumbent upon Muslim Americans to have their stories told, and that's why it is profoundly advantageous for those voices to find their way into mass media. I'd love to see more Muslim American writers become writers, become filmmakers and actors and storytellers.
I can definitely see us becoming the next Attorney Generals, Secretary of States. I want to say President, and maybe that is very eager, but no, it will happen. I know that the source of all these leaders will come back to MPAC. I have no doubt about it.
For a lot of us, this place symbolizes a lot of conflicting things. But the bottom line is, we're all working here to make this world a better place, not just for ourselves and our families, but for our neighbors, our communities, and our country. And when you cut through the mumbo-jumbo of this group or that party or organization and look at their histories, partnerships, and track record, the only question that really matters is, are they making this world a better place for everyone?
I don't think I can say anything more about our organization. I think the video tells the whole story. And so I ask you now to pick up that envelope at the center of your table and write a check and contribute to this organization. Continue investing in this organization. We have built an effective model. What we need now is more support so that we can help it grow. So we are going to have volunteers come to your table, and they will collect your pledges, your checks. They will have credit card swipers. We're going to make it very easy for you. And our goal tonight is to raise, after we have secured pledges from our senior donors, and I want to thank all of our senior donors because they help us continue. They have secured pledges for next year for $400,000. So thank you to our senior donors. Our goal tonight to raise from the floor is $150,000. Do you think we can make $150,000 tonight? All right. Then please start writing your checks, and we will tabulate them, and we'll tell you at the end of the night how we did. I remember, I see Mr. Yunus here, we used to meet at the beginning of MPAC's early years in the home of Mr. Yunus, where we actually had presidential candidates come in. And he guided us with that board that was, I think, just 5 people at that time. Now we have a national board of 15 people that represent New York, Iowa, Ohio, Texas. MPAC is a national organization. And what is great about this work is that none of the money that we have raised has ever come from foreign groups or foreign governments. All the money is from you. It is truly an American institution. And as we look at the budget, we have this year a budget of $1.7 million. Our DC operations is $476,000. Pew Center has said that MPAC is the most effective Muslim public advocacy organization in Washington, D.C. To do that with only $476,000 is amazing. Our competitors' budgets are $10 million, $20 million just to run their DC operations. So this is nothing short of a miracle that we're able to do as much as we've done with as little in terms of resources. Our community engagement this year is at $514,000. Our Young Leaders Program, that right now we have maybe 200 young leaders go through our program a year. In New York for media, in Washington for government. They're in the back there. In Silicon Valley, we started our first technology summit, and here in Los Angeles, our Hollywood summit. All that for only $177,000. We'd like to see that scaled. From having 200 delegates a year, we'd like to envision at least 2,000 delegates every year going through our programs. And when they go through our programs, they become positioned to work in government, in media, in Hollywood, and they get jobs at those places. And as one of our young leaders said, we'd like to see more of that, to see more American Muslims run for political office and be staffers for our decision makers. The Hollywood Bureau, the work that we do in terms of the scripts that we write and changing stories and having our stories in the Hollywood Bureau only at $94,000. Technology is at $345,000, research and publications at $94,000. This adds up to a budget of $1.7 million. So we ask you tonight to think and from the heart, please help us reach our goal of $150,000. Now, we'd like to pay tribute to really the man that had a lot to do with our 25 years of success. And we honor him, not just by talking about him, but by building on his ideas and working like he has worked in dedication and sacrifice for this organization. We pay tribute now to the man who started all this, Dr. Mah Hatut, with 3 people who I'd like to ask to come on stage now. They are Omar Offendum, who is a hip-hop artist and a poet, Hoda Elshishtawy, who is one of our young leaders. She's now our national policy analyst in Washington, D.C., and Reverend Ed Bacon, our friend and colleague who hosted MPAC's convention last year at All Saints Church. This represents the diversity of people that engage MPAC and represents all the people that Dr. Mah Hatut has impacted. So with that, we'd like to start with Omar.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Peace to each and every one of you. I'm going to start this the way I started the first session this morning by saying it is a pleasure to be here, it is an honor to be here, and it is most definitely a responsibility to be here. I say it's a pleasure because I always love performing for the Southern California community of Muslims and friends of the Muslim community. It's an honor to be here performing on behalf of the Muslim Public Affairs Council, an organization that is celebrating 25 years of serving not just the Muslim community, but I believe America at large. Because though they represent us, the work that they are doing is also impacting other people and changing their hearts and minds. And so it's a responsibility to be here, not just because I'm Syrian or Arab or Muslim or American, but because I'm a human being who believes in equality and justice for all and dignity for all human beings. And that is something that I can certainly attest to having learned from Dr. Mah Hatut. And I know many people in this room feel the same. And so when I was asked to perform some sort of tribute for him in 5 to 7 minutes, I have to admit I was a little disappointed, because there's no way that I could really sum up how much Dr. Hathout means to me and to many of the young people in this community. Dr. Hathout, as you all know, is a cardiologist, an author, public intellectual, an interfaith advocate, a youth advocate, a humanitarian, a father, a husband, a grandfather, a leader, a brother, and a dear friend. I have to say, there's many incredible pearls of wisdom that I was given from my time with him over these last 10 years, and I'm just going to share a few. I moved to Southern California just under 10 years ago, and I started working with the local Muslim youth group, something that, of course, he had helped found many years ago, one of the longest running Muslim youth groups in the country, the longest running Muslim youth group in the country. And I was participating in a summer project, engaging the youth with arts and bringing them to the community, showing them the beauty of the Los Angeles community through the murals of Diego Rivera, through the Watts Towers, through our own Islamic Center of Southern California, showing them how to embrace art, and at the same time that there is absolutely no contradiction whatsoever with being an artist and a Muslim. And that is something that I have to thank Dr. Hathout for. He spoke to us during our final performance of that week, and he told the youth something that will always resonate with me. He said, "Root yourselves in Islam and spread your wings and fly." Something to that effect. I may be paraphrasing it improperly, but that's essentially what he was saying, and it resonated with all of us. That again, there is no contradiction whatsoever, and that meant so much to me, because I grew up in a community that was a little bit different. And I'll admit, when I first moved here, I was amazed by a lot of the people who have come to be some of my best friends and peers, and seeing how comfortable they were with being both American and Muslim, and that there was absolutely no issue with either. They had reconciled that, and I understood very quickly that that was because of the leadership of Dr. Mah. And when I got the chance to sit with him and hear his perspective on things, it was essentially a paradigm shift in me, something I'd needed to hear my whole life. And there's a sentence that I believe is in the booklets that you have on those tables where he said, "Home is not where your grandparents are buried, home is where your children will be raised, or your grandchildren will be raised." And again, I apologize if I'm not quoting it fully. That resonated with me so much. It was something I needed to hear my whole life, because I've spent a lot of back and forth between the Middle East and here, something many, perhaps, of the immigrants in this room can relate to. We're going to move back one day. We're going to go back. But I came here when I was 5, and what's the reality of that to someone like me? And hearing those words is what led me to plant my roots. Plant them here proudly in Southern California, in this community. And I'm very, very honored, once again, to be here. And I have to say also, well, you know what? My time is running short. So I'm going to share a few poems with you that will hopefully drive that point home. First thing I want to do is remind folks that I am a MC, a rapper. Anybody here ever been to a hip-hop show or appreciate hip-hop culture? Please make some noise. Okay, so in an effort to increase the literacy of a lot of the whack MCs, I'm often forced to call my peers, take it upon myself to alphabetize the following verse. I'm going to go through the alphabet forwards, backwards, and forwards again, and it goes like this. Alphabetic brothers can disseminate energy fluidly, guiding hereditary imagery, justice, kindness, lovely marriages, never of perimeters, question, regularly suspected terrorismist. Under victory's watch, xenophobic young zealots yield Xerox worldviews, unintelligent televangelists so readily quoted. People often needed motivation, lost kids joke, it hurts. Getting fingerprinted, everyday discriminated, called barbaric Arab by crusaders, desecrated, entering foreign gates, hesitantly immigrated, journeying kaleidoscopic languages, miseducated, naturalized, organized, prophesized, quadraphonic, record set, typed up, verse wars, xylophonic yells, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plus 10 alphabetic bars, spit 16. That's it. Yeah. This next one I wanted to share is something that's actually really fresh, and so I apologize for having to look at my phone. But it's real special. It's more of a poetic take on things, so I won't be rapping as fast for everybody in here who's thinking, what did that guy just say? This one is called The Language of Silence. From behind bars, silence. Whom of you knows the language of silence, so that I may let him hear 1,000 poems, free of any audio tones, their letters an ember of a sigh. My friend, in silence there is clarity, more truthful than any other words. If drafted from the thrills of a tongue, writhing in the throat of the thirsty, longing for a spring in the darkness. Let he who is ignorant of my language leave me be. Don't assume this to be fatigue. Don't play yourself, homie. For the poetry which is inherent in silence can only be understood by the wise. And who said poetry is speech anyway? Poetry is a fleeting moment of sincerity. Poetry is an emotional sentiment poured into the artery of a letter, for letters are godly light, and a word is a world of dreams, uninhibited by the wall of fear. For if the fear has to conquer the word, it should be sheltered behind silence. So let us remove sound from our tongues and intonate without speech and shake hands without greetings. For if the word is robbed of honesty, it will sentence it to death. And I, my friend, do not tire. I am a poet of truth that does not lie. I am a knight of poetry that will never be defeated. Silence that is articulating is not a loss, but counterfeiting melodies by the crucifying of one letter next to another to create false tunes, trembling from fear, is evidence that there was a crime committed against the word, crushing it with humiliation and defeat, robbing it of the sanctity of content. Let he who is ignorant of my language leave me alone. Again, do not assume this to be fatigue, for the poetry which is embedded in silence can only be understood by the wise. Now, thank you. I wish I could take credit for those words, but the simple truth is that was written by Dr. Mah Hatut in 1955. Now, I've had the privilege of sitting with Dr. Maher on many occasions, listening to him recite his poetry to me in classical Arabic, transcribing it and translating it as best I can. And honestly, for anybody who knows how beautiful the Arabic language is, this is barely even scratching the surface. But through the encouragement of some of my closest friends here in the community, I sat with him to do this, and we took it upon ourselves to put this poetry into the form of a stage play written by Wissam Nassar, who I believe also put that video together that you all saw. A very talented member of this community, as are the others, Susu Attar and Samira Idrus, who've worked on this with me, and we've decided to put on this play in honor of Dr. Hathout on January 10th, 11th, and 12th at the Odyssey Theater in West Los Angeles, and it's called Haram, based on his poetry and a short story that he has written over the last 60 years of his life. And again, All of you know him as the accomplished individual that he is, but not many of you really know him as the artist and the poet that we've gotten to know him as. And it really puts his remarkable life in perspective in a beautiful way. And to us, we've learned that it really informed so much of how he approached the work that he did over these last several decades. And so I encourage you all to attend. I encourage you all to purchase tickets. My friends Samira and Susu are here. Samira is actually filming this right now, but she will have flyers for you. Please come see us to find out more about this play. We'd love for you to join us. And inshallah, Dr. Maher will be joining us as well. I thank you all for this opportunity. I thank the Muslim Public Affairs Council for this opportunity. I thank Dr. Maher for the opportunity of getting to know him and spending some of the most important moments of my life with him. And I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for everything. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. I'll try to keep my comments short tonight because I'm not sure to what extent my words will really even convey how I truly feel. My name is Hoda Elshishtawy, and I am the National Policy Analyst in MPAC's Washington, D.C. office, and I'm pleased to be here tonight and to share tonight's very special moments with you all. And I'm honored to speak to you all about someone who has shaped not only the vibrant and really, really good-looking community you see around the room tonight, but a person who's also shaped who I am today. And just as a side note, I say good-looking because try sitting through a banquet in DC, and I think you'll get exactly what I'm saying, so hats off to you all. But in all seriousness, all of us are here tonight to celebrate the impact of 25 years of MPAC work. And behind 25 years of navigating through sometimes really treacherous waters stands a man who we all know to be one of the most unique and special human beings of our time, Dr. Mah Hatut. Now, what can I say about Dr. Hatut that you don't already know, or that you haven't even heard? In all honesty, without him, without his insight, without his foresight, I'm not sure we'd be here where we are today. His vision created an identity that makes us proud to call ourselves Muslims and Americans. And when I was younger, as a member of the Islamic Center's youth group, Dr. Hatut advised us on so many issues, from Islam and civic engagement to living life and seizing the opportunities that every day had to offer. And we all knew, like it was a simple matter of fact of life, that when it was time for us to get married, Dr. Hatut would be there. And he would be there with his words of wisdom on life and marriage, and they would be perfectly wrapped in his sarcastic sense of humor that we were inoculated to understand and appreciate at a young age. And I am so grateful that when it was my time to come last year to get married, Dr. Hatut was there. And he wasn't there as a member of MPAC, he wasn't there as part of the Islamic Center, and he wasn't there as a simple member of the community. Dr. Hatut was there as family. And that's what he's done for us. That's what he's done for our community, and that's what he's done for us as young people. He's given us the chance, and he's allowed us to feel that we can all call him family. I hope tonight conveys how much he's inspired us and impacted our lives, and not just the people in this room, because I'm sure there are secret admirers all over the world. He is the example of someone who is constantly pushing himself outside of his comfort zone. And he's taught me to strive for excellence by doing the same. When I first started at MPAC, Dr. Hatut told me to make him proud, as if that's an easy task. And he told me that I'd be an ambassador in Washington, D.C. from the LA community. And I think and I pray that with his guidance and his leadership, that I've lived up to his request, inshallah. Thank you all.
Assalamu alaikum. It is a great honor to be here to speak about my love and admiration for Mah Hatut. When my wife and I moved to Los Angeles almost 20 years ago, I inherited a relationship with Dr. Hathout and with MPAC. For my predecessor, George Regas, is the rector of All Saints Church, and Maher and Hassan and Leonard Bierman had become fast friends. As I inherited that seat of leadership at All Saints Church, I quickly understood that whenever there was a crisis amongst our interfaith community in Los Angeles, we would gather together, oftentimes in a small room, close the door, and have a candid and courageous conversation about what was at stake in the world when any of us might get upset about what the other had said. What was at stake was the durability of our relationship. And to show that in Los Angeles, interfaith relationships count. And we know that other cities look at our interfaith relationships with admiration and envy. Little did I know that Maher would have so much impact on my life. I went to seminary, theological training, for 3 years. But I didn't have a professor and I didn't read a text that had more impact on who I am as a Christian priest than the words wisdom and friendship of Mah Hatut. You all know the way he has with words. And some of the things that he has said have been implanted in my heart, and I say them in sermons to myself and to others like I would repeat a mantra. For instance, when the Abrahamic Faith's Peacemaking Initiative got together and decided that we must write an interfaith document about peacemaking. These were during the horrible years of the Iraq War and the Bush administration. Maher said, "It is absolutely a mandate. It is an essential and central imperative of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam to make peace." For him to just simply say that that is a central mandate of our three religions, peacemaking, turned on a light bulb. Well, there was another time when, because of my fasting during Ramadan since 9/11, that the MPAC organization generously gave me a Compassion Award. And I went to Eid and sat there, and after the praying, Maher began to preach. And then he said, "Now I want to address the young people. You are being presented with two competing Islams. One that is filled with hatred and one that is filled with love. One that is exclusionary and one that is inclusionary. And it is one that leads to war and division and one that leads to peace. And it is your responsibility as young people to choose the true Islam." All of a sudden, all the light bulbs went on in my mind and helped me understand what was going on in my own religion, that young people in Christianity are always being offered the difference between a religion of peace and justice, a religion of inclusion, or a religion of exclusion and hatred. Dr. Hathout came to speak at All Saints Church, as he frequently does, and we have a page here in this booklet, page 52, about which I'm very proud, and it shows so many different times in which Maher has come and either preached or spoken or been in a forum. After the Boston bombing, we had a wonderful conversation. After we were attacked by the IRS and were about to have our tax-exempt status taken away, after he and his receiving an award from the Human Relations Commission of Los Angeles and came to his defense. After many other times, it became very clear to me that if somebody attacked MPAC, they were attacking All Saints Church, and if somebody attacked All Saints Church, they were attacking MPAC. And we would always be in such solidarity that we would be there for one another. The opposite of Islamophobia is Islamophilia, the love of Islam. I'm not an Islamophobe, I'm an Islamophile. I am a spiritual member of Islam, and Mah Hatut is a spiritual member of Christianity. Last year, you all were gathered at All Saints Church for this convention. Today, it was rather a quiet campus, and I was really missing you all, so you all have to come back. Finally, I want to present this shawl to Mah. This shawl was knit by an organization at All Saints called the Holy Knitters. It's a prayer shawl ministry. It's created with prayers and love by people who get together every week and knit and crochet. It's a gift to Mah from All Saints. It says, God, bless this shawl with faith, hope, and love. Grant this shawl the ability to comfort, heal, and give strength where it is needed. Amen. And may it, thank you. And may this always be a symbol of how closely we all are knit together into one tapestry of love.
Like Omar and Hoda and Reverend Braken, and so many of you, my life has been impacted personally by Dr. Hathout as well. And so I am so honored to present to you now the man we've all been waiting for, Dr. Mah Hatut.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. And thank you very much for being here tonight. I am grateful to God that He enabled me, and He always did, to be with such a fine and an excellent and exceptional community. So may Allah bless you all. I am also grateful to God that you are here to show your support to an organization that without your support will mean nothing whatsoever. I beg you to allow me to be my usual self. Don't really believe what is said in the tribute. It is you. your clarity of vision, and your awareness of what us as people, what humanity as the family created by God to be his vicegerent, and as a Muslim community simply, we felt in the last, I would say, half a century, a great predicament of seeing their precious, valuable, illuminating, compassionate, guiding, just Islam to be rubbed away piece by piece. And the other day I was thinking, if you give me a very valuable car and I parked it, then a person came and scratched it, I'll get very angry. Nonetheless, I'll say it is just a scratch. Tomorrow to the body shop and we repair it. But the same group of people came and slashed the tires. And I said, after all, tires are tires. We'll go tomorrow with whatever left of our saving and buy tires. And still we'll have the 4 wheels. Nonetheless, the same group came again and smashed the windows. So the car looked really ugly. And I said, okay, again to the repairman, this time maybe through a loan, and fix the windows. But the next day, someone came and stole the motor. And then, this is only when I knew that my car is unusable. It was totally gone. And this is what happened in our case. There are so many things in Islam that we can ignore, and yet we can repair subsequently. But if the motor is gone, and the motor of Islam is the belief in the supremacy and oneness of God who created all of us equal. It is the overflowing mercy and compassion that God wants it to be emanated and to be overflowing on the good and on the bad, on the Muslim and on the non-Muslim alike. Another part of the motor is the unwavering justice that Almighty commanded. Then comes our job, the caring for the creation. If we are the vicegerents of God, God does not need us to cater to his needs. He is free of needs, subhanahu wa ta'ala. But his creation, the environment, the animals, the pets, the destitute, the left behind, the marginalized, the poor, those are the ones who need our caring if we are really Muslims. If we ignore these several pieces, there is no motor for this car. There is a skeleton of a car. And unfortunately, we had this tendency to live in a skeleton of a car for 50 years, and this should be no more. We cannot afford to ignore the valuable gift that Almighty gave to us and say what we'll have is still sufficient. After all, we have memories, we have great history, we have remnants of civilization, but this is not what takes humanity from a place to place. What takes humanity from a place to place is intact, functioning, well cared of car. And so I look at the work that MPAC has done and is supposed to do. And I look at you, and we cannot afford but to have the motor again and to jump start the car so that Islam can progress for the benefit of humanity and for God's sake and for the glory of our new generations. Obviously, I was planning not to give a talk. Nonetheless, as they say in Egypt, الطبع يغلب على التطبع. Once you put a person with a microphone, it triggers his talking sense. And because I just talked about mercy, I'll be merciful enough not to torture you with a long talk. I just wanted to finish by there should be no audience and no impact. We should be all together working for a very noble and very important cause. And we need to turn things around. The spiral down have to stop. It is daunting, it is difficult, but if we are really connected to God, and if He's really supplying us with His spiritual energy that is endless, inshallah we can do it. Because God is over commanding over any other factor. والله غالب على أمره ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
You just heard from a man who has sacrificed decades, family time, and his personal time to be in service for our community and indeed for our country. And he has eloquently, once again, articulated the stand of our organization in working for justice. And now we need to implement it, and to do that together. As I said before, we have succeeded in so many arenas, but we can definitely grow. For example, Haris Taran is criticized by the anti-Muslim hysterical nuts. Every time he walks into the White House, they document it. And they said in 1 year, he went to 27 White House meetings. And they complained that after each and every meeting, there was a change of policy. We need to go from 27 meetings to 2,700 meetings. And when Imam Suhaib Webb said on that video, as soon as the Boston Marathon attack happened, MPAC was there to help with the message, because we believe that, as the Quran says, if you can help to save one life, you save a whole human civilization. And we will do anything to save one life.
We have a very special guest here from Washington, D.C. He's going to give us some remarks. He is a professor of international affairs and Islamic studies at Georgetown University. He is also the director of the Prince Al Walid Center for Muslim-Christian Understanding, and more importantly also, he is a long-time friend and supporter of MPAC. Please help me welcome Professor John Esposito.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. I'm delighted to be here. I want to assure you that I came with a wonderful tie made in Naples, that is in Italy, which is the only place where you can get a great tie. But unfortunately, it's in the trunk of the car that brought me here, so I get to speak without a tie tonight, which really, I've been pulling this a lot in a lot of places that I go. I put it in my bag, and then I deliberately forget to bring it out, and then I apologize, but I don't have to wear the tie. All right. You know, I'm probably somebody who, as I look out among many of you, probably has a longer sense of the history of the American Muslim community than many of you do. Because I got into the field in the late 60s, and basically my teachers were Muslim, and I began to travel as a result of that across not only the world, but the United States regularly. So I've known Muslim communities for a long time. And when I think about this community, and I think about MPAC, I remember even then, so many years ago, how singular the impression was when I came out here. I moved to Georgetown 20 years ago. We just celebrated our 20th anniversary last week. And I came out here for the first time a long, long time ago. I'm at that point in my life where remembering whether it was 10 years ago or 20 years ago is hard to remember. Although I should tell you, I do dye my hair in order to look more mature, so I want to make that clear. So don't think I'm as old as I look. But the reality of it is that what struck me about the community then, and I think it's important because we can talk about what the community's like now, and that's great, but it doesn't give you an idea why you're where you are, how pioneering this community was. The community in the 70s and 80s of Muslims across the country was often a community where I would speak in cities and I would say there are more mosques than there are Muslims in this city, meaning that you had a variety of ethnic mosques. So we all know there's an ummah, and Islam transcends ethnic and religious and racial lines, but still we would have a Pakistani mosque, a Kuwaiti mosque, a Turkish mosque, an Egyptian mosque, and then the African Americans were somewhere outside that ummah sphere in terms of cooperation. And what that often meant also was that it was the early days of the community of many people of faith who came here and lived in denial, as was said earlier, the kind of myth of denial. You know, that we're here, we've been here for years, we're going to be here for years, but somehow we're really not American, and somehow, although in the back of our mind, or our kids will know we're going to die here, but no, there's still the sense that we're going to die back home. And so there was always that back home situation. And when I came out and I went to the Islamic Center, it was, relative to the time, a far more integrated center than one would expect. The quality of the khutbah, but in those days didn't take much to give a better khutbah than a lot of other places. But it was really a good quality. And I happened, the first time my wife and I came out, Hassan Hathout was speaking. The sort of sense of male-female presence in the Islamic Center was a lot different than a lot of centers that I had gone to. And there was a much more inclusive message even for those days. Not as inclusive as it has grown to be, but clearly on that track. Now, the remarkable thing about it is to see how pioneering it was. This was a time when many mosques had imams who couldn't speak a word of English. So, for example, I was in a very prominent mosque, let's say in New England, and at that time, the Rabita in Saudi Arabia had become involved with that mosque. And so the imam got up to speak, and of course, he could only give his khutbah in Arabic. And then a Saudi official got up and said, well, I hope you like your imam, and if you don't, we pay his salary and we pay for his home. Even though he said it in English, you could see from the imam's face, he had enough English to know what was being said. And that had an impact on the nature of the community, the nature of the talk, whether or not that talk could relate to the American, Muslim community experience. What you saw being developed here with the Islamic Center and also with the development of MPAC was the beginning of really defining, not defining a Muslim organization in America, not defining simply an Islamic Center in America. It was defining an American Muslim identity and community and center and organization in America, so that it was a sense of not an ethnic religion being transplanted into America, but here we are Muslims, and just as Islam began in Arabia, and then you have Pakistani Muslims, and you have Kenyan Muslims, etc., we're going to be American Muslims, not Pakistani or Egyptian Muslims living in America. That began in a very singular way, and in a way which one really has to remember. And it really was the work of Maher and Hassan Hathout and my very good friend Fatih Usman, whom I've known for even longer. In fact, Fatih was one of the first visiting professors that we had at the center when we created it. And so what you then had were men who had a vision, men who could, it seemed to me, if you will, and I mean this in the best sense of the term, transcend their simply Egyptian and Egyptian ethnic roots and were able to transplant Islam into America and to develop that sense of being an American Muslim. Now, I happen to be on a panel or a talk today, and somebody commented on someone making comments in the old days about, how a Muslim should cut their fingernails according to the Sunnah, etc. Let me tell you, that mentality really existed. I got it from a Supreme Court justice in Pakistan and someone here 40 years ago, which was, how can Pakistanis be real Muslims in America? They won't be able to cut their beard in the exact way. And he actually said their fingernails, and that blew my mind. I only studied what Muslims had Muslim teachers, but I didn't know we were into fingernails, since I tend to just bite them and deal with them that way. So I thought, my gosh, if I convert to Islam formally, what do I do about my fingernails? But the reality of it is that this was a singular thing that was developed. Now, what happened after that is what is even more remarkable. You saw it attested to here. Whether you knew Hassan Hathout, or Mah Hatut, or Fatih Usman, they were cosmopolitan men. They were religious men, they were intellectuals, they were authors, they were incredible speakers. But at the heart of it was a real integrity in which they realized that Islam is not simply about converting people. Islam is about witness. The Shahada says that you witness to your faith, and Islam is about witnessing the faith of Islam, the heart of Islam, the belief in God and social justice, etc. And doing that in a way that transcended, again, not just the ethnic boundaries of the ummah, but that transcended the notion of ummah in a narrowly defined sense. That meant that they declared an Islam that was a religion that was inclusive. Unless Islam is inclusive, then you live in a world where there can be no, and I like that phrase, Islamophilia, coming from the other side in that community. And they did that at a time when, again, if you were in Massachusetts, where I lived for many years, and many other communities, where communities that came did what all communities did, what my Italian-American family did. You turn in on yourself initially, you deal with the language issues, and you work that way with it. But rather, they were way ahead of the time of thinking about that importance of integration. That is even more important today. In a world in which post 9/11 we deal with Islamophobia, and we saw the tip of the iceberg of that Islamophobia with Park 51, with the Sharia situation across the country. In that world, the work of MPAC is especially important. And if Harris gets followed every time he sees the president, I can tell you that there is a very good chance, since I usually have somebody who comes to my talks with a camera or taking notes, that you will get a lot of attention on the internet tomorrow. I will get it and you will get it. It may not be the kind of attention you want, but we'll get a lot of coverage. The fact is, this is where MPAC also plays a role. To the extent that MPAC is a witness to what it means to be an American Muslim, and to the extent that it takes its message not only throughout California, but that it is present in Washington, that it interacts with policymakers, and that it has the kind of entree that it has, is remarkable. I remember at the beginning of the Clinton administration, a number of us were brought in to talk about how could there be outreach to Muslims. And remember, it was basically President Clinton that introduced the idea of take a Muslim to lunch. Well, you know, the iftar, which to me, when you don't deliver on the goods, is simply you're taking me to a free dinner, but what do you deliver? The fact is, today, government wants to hear what you have to say. Today, members of the State Department will hear. You don't just have to go to Washington. Today, Barack Obama, you got a letter from a Barack Obama, but it's a president who has people helping him who know how to respond to the community. So I think at this time, it's a time to celebrate the incredible legacy of Mah Hatut, and I think the best way to do that is to make sure you reach that number that you need to reach tonight for the future of MPAC, but even more importantly, that you continue to grow your community, your Islamic Center, and MPAC exponentially. As much as you moved exponentially to get here, that you continue that growth exponentially. Thank you.
Our evening is nearing its end, and I do want to thank you all for your support. Without the support of Allah and all of your support, MPAC wouldn't be where it is today, 25 years strong. I mentioned in the beginning that we are here to celebrate, and so let's do that. Let's bring Annu back to the stage. Okay, a little earlier than expected. Ladies and gentlemen, Annu.
Cue the music. We about to rock out right now. Listen. Well, sometimes I go out by myself and I look across the water, and I think of all the things like what you're doing, and in my head I paint a picture. That's right, I should come on home when my body's feeling the best. Now I miss that ginger hair and the way you like to dress. Won't you come on over? Stop making a fool out of me. Why don't you come on over? Hey, Valerie. 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 Oh, baby. Valerie. Did you have to go to jail? Put your house up for sale. Did you get a good lawyer? Hope you didn't catch a tin. I hope you found the right man that will fix it for you. No, that's right. I should come on home when my body's been the best. Now I miss that ginger hair and the way you like to dress. Won't you come on over? Stop making a fool out of me. Why don't you come on over? Hey, Valerie. 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 Oh, baby. Valerie. We gotta sing for this girl, listen. Well, sometimes I go out by myself and I look across the water, yeah. And I think of all the things like what you're doing, and in my head I paint a picture. No, whoa, whoa, whoa. So won't you come on home while my body's been a mess? There will be that ginger hair and the way you like to dress. Won't you come on over? Stop making a fool out of me. Why don't you come on over, Valerie? Oh yeah, Valerie. Oh, Valerie. Oh, baby, Valerie. Watch this, we're about to break it down for you. Oh, come on. Hey. Oh. Look. Oh. Hey. Are y'all having a good time tonight?
MPAC, are y'all having a good time tonight?
Listen, repeat after me, say this. Say MPAC, MPAC. Say MPAC, MPAC. We coming, babe. We coming, babe. We coming, babe. We coming, babe. Say MPAC, MPAC. Say MPAC, MPAC. We coming, babe. We coming, babe. We coming, babe. We coming, babe. Oh, see, oh, yeah, no.
Thank you. This next was an original. And the title is called We On It. MPAC, how y'all feeling out there?
I said, how y'all feeling out there?
Cue the music. We want to give you the greetings of Assalamu Alaikum. We said Assalamu Alaikum. Oh, okay, we had MPAC. Hey! 1, 2, 3, hit it! We want to see everybody party tonight. Let's do it. 1, 2, 3.
Red bottoms on your shoes, got the other girls confused. Alright, she looks so good tonight. Now I'm gonna treat you right. Them other guys standing on the wall, acting like you've seen it all. But I'm not afraid to have some fun, and you're my favorite one. My favorite one. Come on! Dancing when we're dreaming through the night. Just hold on tight, I'll stay you right. Dance with you, even if we're dancing all alone. Watch this. Put it down, freak me out. I wanna see how you move. Take it go, lose control. Just gotta get in the mood. 'cause I'm dancing when we're crazy through the night. Just hold on tight. I'll stand you right there. Dance with the song. Even if we're dancing all alone. Dance on, put it down. Freak me out. I wanna see how you move, girl. Let it go. Yeah. Lose control. Just gotta get it. Bring it back. Hey. Put it down. Freak me out. I wanna see how you move. Let it go. Lose control. Just gotta get it. Yeah. Get back. We on it. Can you feel it? We on it. Hit me out there. We on it. Can you feel it? We on it. We on it. We on it. All right. We on it. Oh yeah. We on it. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, we love you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you've enjoyed your evening. Thank you so much for your support. And please continue to support MPAC. There are ushers at the door in case there are any last-minute donations. And it is with your support and with the help of Allah that we will make Muslim Americans a vital and contributing part of America's fabric, inshallah. Thank you and good night. Peace and blessings of God upon you all. We'll see you next year. Assalamu alaikum.